Welcome to Transformed, real stories, real faith. Listen on Spotify, Facebook, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Join us as we break free.
All right, so founder of Transformative Living, Ben Little. All right, so Ben, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Pretend I don't know you. Introduce yourself.
All right. So my name is Ben Little. I live in Columbus, Mississippi. I'm married to Sheila. We've been married for almost 8 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I've lived in Columbus for about 7 of those 8 years. And I founded Transformative Living in July of 2024 after previously working at a substance abuse treatment facility in the Golden Triangle area.
Okay. Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Mississippi?
I grew up in Mississippi. I was actually born and raised in Brandon, Mississippi, and lived there for about the first 30 years of my life. And then I actually lived in Connecticut for about 7 years. And then I came back to Mississippi in 2013.
Okay. So in 2013, you're back in Mississippi. What were you doing at that time?
I wasn't really doing anything healthy. By that time, I had developed an addiction to heroin and started with pain pills roughly in 2011 and led to heroin. And in 2013, after attempting to take my own life, I moved back to Mississippi where my parents were. And at that point in time, the drug of choice just changed due to access. So I stopped using heroin and started using methamphetamine.
Right. So when you attempted to take your own life, was that the rock bottom that maybe you sought help after that?
No, I'd like to say so. I would like to say that, God having a different plan for my life did, but no, I can remember having a 5-page letter essentially blaming the whole world and, the world would be better off if I wasn't here. But really the only thing that changed was the 1,300 miles between Mississippi and Connecticut. I actually didn't do any self-reflection and just still wanted to just live a meaningless life. I was searching for purpose and couldn't find it. And at this point in time, I was just numbing. I was just doing whatever I could to not have to accept the position that I was in life. And over the next 16 months, my life changed forever. And I had amassed multiple felonies in 3 counties and ended up getting sentenced to 20 years at Mississippi Department of Corrections.
Which is a lot of time.
Yes, it's a lot of time. The term we call that in prison is buku time.
Right. So for listeners that don't pull out your calculator, it's a lot of time. It qualifies. So all right, you're in Parchman.
Yeah.
And you're getting comfortable. Well, for lack of a better word, because you're thinking you're going to be there 20 years, right?
Yeah.
What happens next?
So, I go in the prison system. I spend, you get processed in at Central Mississippi Correctional Facility, and then I actually go to Greene County, and I'm in Greene County for about 6 months, and then I get transferred to Parchman, and I'm there about 8 months. And then, so my first year in prison, because I had multiple felonies in different counties, I had to go back on court order 3 separate occasions to get more time. I actually started with a 5-year prison sentence and then ended up with 20. Fortunately for me, all of my offenses were nonviolent drug charges. So I kind of knew that the minimum amount I would have to do was 25% of those, as long as I didn't have any, RVRs or any types of, new charges while I was incarcerated.
Now, what's an RVR?
So it's essentially to, like a write-up. It's like a revocation. There's multiple levels. You have an A, B, and C. Like a C7 is for like a cell phone.
So that's pretty severe.
Yeah, and they add time for it. So anything that's like a C level RVR, you can get additional time for.
Okay. So, but doing my math now, it hadn't been 20 years since
Right.
you were convicted. So what happened? How are you talking to me today?
Yes, I was actually able to make parole after 5 years, or 1,827 days. But who's counting?
Hey, right.
Um, I was.
A lot of numbers this episode.
So I was able to make parole, and so I actually paroled out of prison November 21st of 2019 from
Okay.
CMCF. I spent, as I stated earlier, I spent 3.5 years at CMCF
Okay.
in parole.
All
So
right.
I did all of my time at the state prisons.
Okay. So you mentioned you were married. How long have you been married?
Yep. So Sheila and I got
You did
married.
say, what, 8 years?
Yeah, Sheila and I got married June of 28th of 2018. We actually got married at the chapel at CMCF.
That's a pretty cool story that I want to get her on. Um,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
work on it.
yeah. It was
But
very budget friendly. It was very budget friendly.
look, I mean, I bet. I
Yeah, I
bet. I mean,
mean,
weddings these days, you're going to spend a band's 10 grand.
yeah, I think it was $26 for the the license, and then they brought her in on a golf cart, and I was fortunate
Did
enough to get married in my green and white pants and a white button-down MDOC shirt.
Well, look, did they put 10 cans on the back of the cart when they took her out?
No, no,
Ah,
they took a CO with her and escorted her out about an hour after we got married.
well, at least you got to spend an hour. You were at
That
my
is,
at my wedding.
yeah, yeah, I was
I
there. Yeah,
You actually married me and my wife. So
I did
for
officiate.
those
Yep.
that don't know, I know Ben, but a lot of people listening will not. There's always a day one story when it's like somebody has an idea like you had.
Yeah.
Um, so, what was the specific moment or encounter that convicted you that you needed to start what you started? And go ahead and what have you started from ground up? Kind of go
Yeah.
into that
So
because I mean,
so we started Transformative Living in July of 2024. But what kind of led to my transformation in life was just finally finding purpose through my relationship with Jesus. I was raised in church all my life. It wasn't like that I, learned about Jesus in prison, but I really invested. I can remember being in Simpson County Jail before I went into the prison system, and there was a jail administrator, a jail chaplain that came in. His name was Brother Paul, and I can just remember laying on my rack saying, my dad would be really disappointed if I didn't at least go up into the day room where this guy was, leading a Bible study. And in that moment, I just walked over and said, God, if you're real, I give you everything I got. That sounds very heroic, but at that time, I knew I was going to prison. And when you go to prison, you
mhm,
can't take anything but your legal work and a Bible. And
right.
Brother Paul brought me a Bible the following week, and I just started searching scriptures. But I still struggled with relapse my first 2 years in prison, and I was fortunate enough to teach the GED program to other inmates, and that kind of gave me a sense of purpose in my incarceration. And what ultimately led to me working for the chaplains department. And it was really at that time that I felt God was calling me to simply help and encourage people that were going through the same things that I had experienced in life. Excuse me, whether that was incarceration or addiction. And God just used people, whether it was the superintendent or other correctional officers or captains and wardens at the prison. And I started gaining favor because of the positions that God was allowing me to elevate to, investing in other people. And that kind of gave me the passion of just simply just using my experience to try to help other people navigate what they're going through. And I kind of used the story of me and another good friend of mine. We got out the same week. He got out a day before I did. And unfortunately, if you spend less than 10 years in the MDOC, of course this is back in 2019, it may have changed now, but he essentially got $50 in a bus ticket, and he went back to Lumberton, Mississippi, where his mother lived, but she had passed. And so I was very fortunate, raised by a loving family and had opportunity, but it was a very big contrast to what I was experiencing to what he was experiencing.
Mhm.
And I'll never forget, an inmate came up to me that had a life sentence, and he challenged me the day I left, and he just simply said, "Please remember me." And I was like, "What? Well, I can never forget this experience." And he said, "No, don't forget us." He said, "You know, nobody will listen to us, and you know, I'm depending on you to be our voice and to share about your experience here and to advocate for us and to bring change, you know, to not necessarily the prison system itself, but just the environment in which they were living in, and just to kind of advocate for transitional services and then different types of things, you know,
Mhm.
for the people who are incarcerated." And so that kind of just motivated me to not only just accept my future and my path and my advancement in life, but also remember all the ones that I left behind who are still there, who are still struggling and living, that are holding on to hope. And
Mhm.
prison is a very hopeless environment.
Right.
So that's kind
Well,
of led me to where I'm at now in life,
mhm.
just to serve other people who are going through
Right.
addiction or incarceration.
Right. That face similar challenges that you faced and had to, and are still overcoming some. You've
Exactly. Yep.
So I don't want to ruin any of your stories. I'm just going to ask questions.
Okay.
So you, where we met was when you were working at another rehab that I was at, and we
Yes.
ended up working together, and
Yep.
we split ways from, and not at the same time, but your calling and I felt like my calling was different. Not
Yep.
taking anything away from previous,
Yep.
but you came up at first. You just had the one house on the street
Yeah.
in West Point that I was renting from you,
Yeah.
and me and another guy. But then you were able to buy another one right next
Yeah.
door, and you were gonna. At that point, were you just thinking landlord, property owner?
Yeah. It was just simply
For
just
people that had
yeah.
just come
It
out
was
of rehabilitation.
Yeah, it was just the rental property. One of the disadvantages that an individual like myself has coming out of incarceration, or that has ever had prior felonies, or even treatment, is the stigma that comes along with having being a convicted felon, or
Mhm.
someone having to identify themselves as a recovering drug addict. So it's very hard to be able to rent what I call respectable housing. My belief is that if an individual has something that they can take pride in, acknowledging this is what my work and this is what my sobriety, has gotten me, and they feel, proud of that, where they bring their family and they bring their friends, and it's kind of just seeing, the changes that they've made. My belief is that if you can change that environment, then that will motivate the individual to continue to desire excellence for themselves. So yeah, so we had these houses just to be able to allow individuals that may have a checkered past or may have be coming out of addiction, that were maintaining sobriety, and just giving them an opportunity to rent respectable housing. And that
And
that
have
was
something to
just
be proud of.
exactly, exactly.
Right. Because a lot of people haven't had a home of their own that come through in a long time.
That's correct.
Um, a home that they now have at least.
Yep.
The name, all right, spoiler alert, it's Transformative Living. How'd you come up? What made you think of that name? Because every ministry has a story behind its name. But
Yeah.
with Transformative Living, what does that mean? Where were you when you thought of it? Number one, and who was
Yeah.
the first
So
person you told about it?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, transformative living was actually started overnight. We had these houses, and then some undue circumstances happened, and so we kind of had to um, shift, because a couple of the people that were renting houses were under what we call court supervision. And when you have court
Mm-hmm.
supervision, there's essentially a mandate that they have to be in some type of program.
Mm-hmm.
So overnight, my wife and I, we had to create a sober living program to essentially satisfy court requirements, working with Mississippi Department of Corrections. Transformative living came about that night. It was just this idea about just being a new creation, dying to the old self and having a fresh start. in life, and believing that, accepting that new identity instead of all the identities that you've been told over your life. And then our
Right.
logo of the tree is actually, I've always been intrigued by the story in Genesis of, you have two options: the tree of life or the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the tree of knowledge of good and evil is shame and guilt and depression and anxiety and overwhelming and trauma. And there's just a lot of things about choosing to eat from that tree, and then the tree of life of just the forgiveness and the grace and the mercy. And so that concept has always been intriguing to me. And then you kind of tie it into our verse that we stand on as far as that goes is Psalms 1:3. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that produces his fruit in his season, whose leaf also does not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. So that
Prosper.
is talking about stability, spiritual nourishment, and ultimately prosperity, but not prosperity in the way that we see prosperity gospel of, the things that we can attain and the things
Right.
that we can achieve. It's in the prosperity of living in that freedom and the grace of Jesus, and being able to see how much our lives are better accepting what he says about us compared to what the world says
The
about
ones
us.
that don't. Exactly. So we have the name. We have a few properties. We have and we have a few members. That's the stage that's been set now.
Yep.
Um, but I think so. You started with one, of course. Then there was
Yep.
another,
Yeah.
and so how many do you have now? How many houses on the same street do you have now?
Yeah, so I mean, we have multiple houses, located throughout West Point.
Mm-hmm.
The concept is just to provide stable housing opportunities for individuals.
Right.
We have renters who are men, we have renters who are family, but essentially, we are unique in the fact that whenever they come in, the expectation is that they're going to stay sober, that they're going to live a life of moral character and integrity. And then, in living there, we kind of just set the expectation of being a productive member of society, providing a safe environment for them to live in, and then also just promoting workforce. Over since we started in July of 2024, we provided services to almost 70 people, whether it's employment. We offer transportation services to people in our area that just need a desire, that have a desire to go to work, but they just don't have the ability to get to work. And with that, it's essentially like we make covenants. We can come up with an agreement that we will provide transportation for you to work, but in doing so, when we pick you up, you have to be sober. So it's
Right.
kind of just encouraging them to live a life of moral character and integrity, using the life of Jesus as the model of how to carry ourselves. That's kind of the concept. That's kind of the background. And I mean, we've been fortunate to just have so many people engaged in what we're doing. Part of my story is, I had the president of MUW, President Nora Miller, and one of her friends, Betty Ruth Hawkins, whenever I was incarcerated. They actually came into prison, and they knew that I wanted to help and encourage people. And to them, they said, help and encourage, there's no better way to do that besides counseling. So I was actually able to go to school whenever I got out of prison. And since my release, I've got my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, my
Mm-hmm.
master's degree, and starting in
Right.
August, I'll be starting the doctoral program at Mississippi State in counseling. So I
Right.
get to work with individuals every day, whether or not they are in my treatment center, I mean, my sober living facility, or if they're in treatment anywhere in the state of Mississippi. I
Mm-hmm.
have an opportunity to just be able to be a voice of reason and someone to listen to where they're at. And, we kind of use the old thing, meeting them right where they are instead of waiting for them to get to where we feel like they ought to be. We just meet them where they are, and we let them know that we understand, and that we're here for them. many people who are in, addiction, or, have a disability, or who are incarcerated, they're constantly reminded of the things that they cannot do and their limitations. So just being able to speak life into them and to help them achieve whatever goals they have for their life is what motivates me each and every day.
Right. So you have the houses they live in, but the program itself, y'all have a clubhouse, is what y'all call it. There's a central meeting place.
Yes.
So the one transformative living is based out of there, correct? And then you have a transformative properties that are you allow people to rent from.
Yeah, so it's kind of separate. So our not
Right.
we have a therapeutic, faith-based, sober living 501c3 nonprofit, which is
Uh-huh.
what we've been talking about tonight, Transformative Living. It's
Right.
essentially a club membership that we
Hmm.
provide these services and networking opportunities to anyone in
Like
the community.
transportation to work, help
Exactly.
finding employment, and
Yes.
help with other things.
Yes, because
So,
actually, when we got the clubhouse, there was people that lived around the clubhouse that weren't even necessarily in addiction, that were just looking for job
for
opportunities.
jobs,
So
right,
we spent time
right,
connecting them with employers in this area, and then we would
uh-huh.
provide transportation for them, until they could essentially, secure their own transportation.
So Transformative Living Inc. Isn't. I mean, it can help more than just the people in the program. It can help the whole community if they come ask for it. There.
Yes. Yeah, so
So
our motto is restoring lives, strengthening communities. Uh,
right.
our belief is that if we can hear a need and feel the need, which is essentially the example that was given to us in Acts 2.
Uh-huh.
Instead of just hearing it and thinking someone else will, if we hear the need, feel the need, that if we can improve the life of one individual at a time, that the overall community will grow, will heal, will become stable, and then we can realize that we have a lot more in common than we have differences.
Right. So you're saying instead of waiting on somebody to do what you feel needs to be done, you took the initiative, saw the need, and took action.
Yes,
You and your wife.
that's correct. And
Um.
now, of course, we have a whole team. A whole
Oh
team of
yeah,
staff,
yeah.
and we've grown tremendously, and we're looking forward to our upcoming expansion.
And
But
we'll
it,
talk about yeah.
yeah,
That's yeah. We're gonna dive into that. I don't want to ruin that one because there's a part two. Um. So just to recap where we're at, Ben grew up in Brandon. Ben got in trouble. Ben went to prison. Ben got paroled early,
yeah.
and Ben started a ministry. Uh, and I hate to be that. It's not that there's so much in between there, but I, if you could change, if you could go back and change one thing, or if you could go back to young Ben, 25-year-old Ben, or 35-year-old Ben, and tell him anything, what would you tell him? And not necessarily to change the future, but what would you tell him back then?
I would tell him that purpose is not found in what the world tells you. It's not found in material possessions, uh, family, children, all the things the world says, money, fame, job, occupation. That purpose is found in your relationship with God and how you live your life and the legacy that you're living behind, because that's ultimately what my purpose in life is. Simple, is to help and encourage, and it doesn't cost me anything to do
Right.
that. And living my life so long just trying to pursue all of the things that the world told me that would cause me happiness just left me in a level of empty that is undescribable. And now I
Right.
live with a sense of peace and happiness that is unmeasurable, and truly live out the fact that no matter what I do, God can work everything for the good according
Uh-huh.
to His purpose.
Right. That is right. All right. Well, I think we're going to put a pin in it. And
Okay.
so this is going to be a two-parter, possibly a three-parter.
Yeah.
Uh, if you're up to it, I think because we still got more to dive into. Just one more question: if younger Ben would have known that then, would there be a transformative living today, though?
Uh, Probably not, because
Probably not. Right.
I don't think that there would have been an addiction and incarceration.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
So that goes back to what you said: all things for the good, not the
that's
easy
right.
things. All things. It was in the devotion. Therefore, yesterday on the page.
That's
Uh,
right.
so
Yeah, I can remember telling God that if my experience would just change the life of one person, that it would all be worth it. And
mm,
he's allowed me the opportunity to invest in so many people's
mm-hmm.
lives due to my incarceration and addiction, that I sit here now and I cherish my past experiences because it's allowed me to have a voice of understanding and reasoning for the individuals who are going through the same thing.
Right. And you not only have that voice with the individuals in the program or in the community, you're called upon to speak at events and statewide, and be a representative for certain things in your profession. So it's grown tremendously in just the small amount of time it's been open, comparable to other places.
Yeah.
And that's part two. I want to talk about the growth.
Okay.
How many men are in the program today?
So we currently are providing services to 24 individuals throughout the Golden Triangle area.
24. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a building maybe that was coming available? I don't know. Maybe by part two there will be. Ben, thank you, and I know I'm excited to hear part two. That will be coming out after part one. You know, it's one, two, and
That's
three,
normally how
four.
it goes, 1 and 2. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know me. I can put two before one and not think twice about it.
All right.
So,
All right. Well, I appreciate you
all right.
having me on.
Oh yeah, part two is coming up.
All right.
The views expressed on this show are not necessarily those of the hosts, producers, or our sponsors.